Thank you. Well, it's so great to see everybody. It really makes me smile to see all these faces. Um, where are we in our Torah reading cycle? We are most definitely in the wilderness, and we don't know how long we're going to be here. And it's kind of a fearful, anxiety-ridden place. And yet, at the same time, while we're wandering, not knowing how long we're going to be here, we build a sanctuary, a place for God to dwell. And I think there's new meaning to this, as all of us are basically in our homes and have to create some kind of sanctuary in our New York apartments or wherever we are. That's a very challenging thing to do these days. How do we prepare sanctuary in the midst of all of this? And so maybe the solution is that we make a sanctuary within ourselves, a sanctuary for each of us to find a little bit of that divine spark, to kind of create a little bit of space for ourselves. So that's what we're going to begin with, is this blessing and this wish that we can create a sense of sanctuary wherever we are. Oh Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, and with thanksgiving I'll be a living sanctuary for you. I hope you'll sing with me. Oh Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, and with thanksgiving I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Basuli Mikdash, Basuli Mikdash, B'sha'anti b'tocham, ואנחנו נברך יה מעתה ועד עולם. Oh Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, and with thanksgiving I'll be a living sanctuary for you.
Thank you, Rabbi Angela. We definitely saw very similar messages in this week's Torah reading. This week, we resume the Torah's description of the building of the Mishkan, as you mentioned. And the passage in the beginning that jumps out at me is, K'chu mitchem truma l'Adonai, kol nadiv libo yivieha. Take an offering from your possessions for the Lord. Every generous-hearted person shall bring it. The starting point of the Mishkan 3 weeks ago, and where it picks up today, is with the description of our ancestors' generosity of spirit in contributing to its construction. Again and again, the word nadav, generous or giving, is repeated. And amidst the many reactions I've encountered during the difficult times we're experiencing, I am grateful for how much generosity of spirit exists among us. It's really incredible. In part, I think that comes from a feeling that we're all in this together, but there is more to it than that, I think. After all, sharing the same experiences doesn't mean that we're feeling the same thing. Even with a shared experience, there's still a challenge that to be empathic towards one another's individual feelings. And the fact we're in the same physical space, which you sang so beautifully about, can actually make this harder, because we might assume we know how others are feeling because we're in the same physical space. And in this regard, Buchdahl and his fellow Mishkan builders can serve as important role models for us, because as often as we're reminded of the Israelites' generosity of spirit in donating materials for the Mishkan, we're also reminded of the character traits of those building it. Their expertise as craftsmen isn't enough. We're told again and again that they are blessed with chokhmat lev. Literally, this phrase means wisdom of heart, which can be understood in many different ways. For now, I'll focus on just one possibility, that chokhmat lev indicates empathy. That building the Mishkan, a physical space dedicated to God, was not only a function of artistic ability, of craftsmanship, it was a function of social, emotional intelligence as well. This is ultimately what I think made the space worthy of God's presence. It's obviously not easy to think this way about the physical spaces we now find ourselves in day after day, even though we are sharing them with our families. My hope for us as we enter the Shabbat of Vayalkel Pekudei is that through a continued generosity of spirit and a sensitivity towards one another, that we create and maintain the spaces we are in as spaces that are sacred, caring, and supportive for ourselves and others.
How beautiful is that? Thank you. I think that it feels appropriate for us to offer a prayer for healing. And we can begin very globally. And as we read these stories of what's happening around the world, there are so many people who are ill and in need of healing, and fearful for people that they love. And so I'll invite us to think about people that we don't necessarily even know out there in the world that are in need of healing, but we know they're hurting in places like Italy and Spain and all over. And then to direct that love to our own country, to a situation that continues to just, feel like we don't know how much things are going to change every single day. And that uncertainty is itself sort of fearful. And then bring it a little closer to people that we know and love who might need a prayer for healing. And then offer that for ourselves as well, because each one of us in some ways feels a little broken in this moment. And we can offer that prayer for ourselves, both a healing of our bodies as well as our spirits for whatever it is that's ailing us. So I invite us to join in this prayer of healing, the Misha Berach prayer for healing that was written by Debbie Friedman. My guess is you know it and you can join in, or you can just take in the blessing. Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. So now in this moment, I might invite you all to say out loud any names, people that you're thinking about that you want to offer a prayer of healing for, whether they're near or far. Say it with those that you love, that you're with. Misha Berach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. I have to say, just seeing all your faces was very healing for me. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Before I tell my story, everybody can hear me, right? Yeah, somebody nod their head. Okay. Before I tell my story, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge Debbie Friedman, Zichronah Livracha, who wrote that Misha Berach and used to come to the Heschel School and sing it to all of our students, and brought a very special spirit of healing that I just felt when Angela was singing it. So my story is actually more, though, about Shabbat. And it starts with Caesar, the emperor of Rome, who one day was taking a walk when he smelled the most wonderful aroma. He followed his nose, it was Friday evening, and he followed his nose to the front door of Rabbi Joshua ben Hananiah and his wife Leah. Imagine Joshua and Leah's surprise when the emperor of all Rome knocked on their door. But they knew well the importance of welcoming guests, so of course they invited him to share their Shabbat dinner. He listened to the Shabbat blessings and even hummed along when they sang their Shabbat songs. And when it came time for the meal, each dish tasted more delicious than it smelled. Caesar enjoyed himself thoroughly, and he thanked his host for their hospitality. The next day, another unexpected visitor arrived at the home of Rabbi Joshua and Leah. It was the emperor's royal chef. I have been instructed to write down the recipes for all of the dishes that you served. Well, this is actually 2 days later because the next day was Shabbat. The emperor enjoyed his meal so much that he would like to have the exact same menu again tonight at the palace. So Joshua and Leah gave him the recipes, and they asked him to tell the emperor that they hoped he would enjoy the meal. But the next day, the royal chef was back. The emperor says, "The food is not as delicious as it was in your home. You must have left out an ingredient. Please write down the recipe again." So again, Joshua and Leah carefully wrote down the recipe, trying to remember the exact amounts of each ingredient. But the next morning, there was the royal chef at their doorstep again. Every day of that week, they saw him, and every day that week, they wrote down the recipes as faithfully as they could. Finally, it was Shabbat again. And once again, the emperor walked by Joshua and Leah's home, and he smelled the beguiling aroma. Once again, he was invited to share in the meal with its special blessings and its singing. And once again, when the food was served, the meal possessed the same unique flavor he remembered. Finally, Caesar could not take it anymore. He said, "I don't understand. I sent my royal chef to your house every day this week, but he cannot reproduce the flavor of your food. There has to be a secret ingredient that you have been hiding from me." Rabbi Joshua and Leah looked at each other, and finally Leah spoke up. "As a matter of fact, Your Highness, there is a secret ingredient." "I knew it," said the emperor. "I knew there was a secret ingredient. Why would you do this to me? Why would you leave out an ingredient just to frustrate me?" "The problem," said Leah, "is that we fear that you will not be able to acquire the secret ingredient. That's why we left it out of the recipe. I am the emperor of all Rome. My empire stands from Egypt to Gaul, from ocean to sea. There is no ingredient that I cannot acquire." Well, you see, the secret ingredient is Shabbat. "What?" said the emperor. "Shabbat is not a flavor." "Well," explained Leah, "in a way it is. The reason that the food tastes so special in our home is not because of the spices that go into the pot. Everything that happens around that we deliver food to people that we know need it, and we give them Shabbat chalot. Finally, we make our meal as an offering to God. That's what makes the food so delicious. So as you can see, it's not the kind of ingredient that can be put into a bottle or a jar. That is indeed disappointing," said the emperor. "I've been thinking it over," said Leah, "and there actually is a way for you to acquire the secret ingredient. You are always welcome to share our Shabbat meals. We will always be happy to set a place for you at our table, especially now that you know our Shabbat melodies so well." And from then on in, many Friday nights, the emperor could be found happily sitting at Joshua and Leah's Shabbat table, enjoying his meal, complete with the secret ingredient. And I think I'm going to pass it back to Angela now.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank goodness it's Shabbat tomorrow. Whew, we need it. So this last song is a blessing Jacob bestowed upon Joseph and all the children. And if you have children near you, I might suggest you draw them close, and provided that, you've all been in the same house, touching each other, I guess, and maybe even put your hand on their head and bless them. And if you're not with people, but you want to just picture someone that you love that you're offering this blessing to, you can put their name right, in your heart and between your eyes, and carry them and picture them as I offer this blessing. It comes from Genesis, and it says, "May the angel who has saved me from all harm, from all things that are fearful out there, bless these children In the name of all of our ancestors, all the people who come before me, may God bless them. And may we all prosper and be abundant in this earth. So that's the blessing. And I invite you to take those you love close and offer this to them. Or think of those that you want to bless in this moment. The angel who will protect us from all harm. Hamalach hagoeloti. Hamalach hagoeloti mikora. Yivarech et hane'ari. V'kareh mehem shemi. Hamalach hagoeloti. Hamalach hagoeloti mikora. Yivarech et hane'arim v'kareh shemi. Shem avotai v'shem avotai Avraham v'Yitzchak v'yigdu l'rov v'yigdu l'rov v'kerem haaretz. Shem avotai v'shem avotai Avraham v'Yitzchak v'yigdu l'rov v'yigdu l'rov v'kerem haaretz. Hamalach hagoeloti. Hamalach hagoeloti mikora. Yivarech et hane'arim v'kareh mehem shemi. All these blessings to you and more.
Thank you, Rabbi Angela. What a beautiful song and what a beautiful way to begin to prepare for Shabbat. This Shabbat is Shabbat Mevarchim HaChodesh. Were we to be in Shul, it would be a Shabbat where we would announce the new month of Nisan. Next Thursday, a week from today, is Rosh Chodesh Nisan. And I'd like to end with a prayer, or with the words from the prayer, where we announce the new month of the new month. Yehi ratzon milfanecha Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu. May it be your will, Adonai our God, God of our fathers and our mothers. Shetechadesh alenu et hachodesh hazeh, that you renew for us this month of Nisan, the month where we celebrate freedom from bondage, the month where we celebrate becoming a people committed to justice and committing to looking out for the stranger in our midst. Renew for us this month to be one full of tova uvracha, full of goodness and blessing. Vatiten lanu chayim arukim, a month in which you, God, commit to grant us long life. Chayim shel shalom, chayim shel tova, a life of peace and a life of goodness. Chayim shel bracha, chayim shel parnasa, chayim shel chilutz atzamot, a life with financial stability and physical health. Chayim shetehevanu ahavat Torah v'irat shamayim, a life where our love of Torah and our awe of heaven fills our hearts and instills within us commitment to take good care of ourselves, good care of our families and loved ones, and good care of each other. Chayim sheyimale Adonai mishalot libenu letova, a life where all our heart's desires are fulfilled for good. Amen. The prayer then continues with a focus, just like the song Rabbi Angela just sang, on redemption, on Geulah. And the words are as follows. May you, God, who performed miracles for our ancestors and redeemed them from slavery to freedom, redeem us soon
and gather our dispersed people from the four corners of the earth, so that all of us and all of Israel may be united in friendship. מי שעשה ניסים לאבותינו, וגאל אותם מעבדות לחירות, הוא יגאל אותנו בקרוב, ויקבץ נידחינו מארבע כנפות הארץ, חברים כל ישראל, ונאמר אמן. May this be a month where, as we are feeling dispersed from one another, we continue to have these moments where we assert that we will once again, and now and in the future, feel that we are gathering together, united in friendship. Chaverim Kol Yisrael, wishing you a Shabbat Shalom and a Chodesh Tov. Ariella.
Thank you, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. Join us for Kabbalat Shabbat tomorrow. Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Ann, Jack, and Dahlia. Dream team of rabbis. Good night, everyone.
Laila Tov.
Good night.